Hello and welcome, everybody. Today we are going to be crocheting a baby shark. Isn't the baby shark so cute? Okay, let's make sure we have all of our supplies and materials. You'll need a darker color yarn. I'm going to use this light blue just so it's easy to see on camera. You'll need a lighter color yarn as well, crochet hooks, some scissors. You'll also need a pair of safety eyes, stitch marker, and a yarn needle. Let's go ahead and get started. I need my darker yarn first. Grab yours. Make sure you have the instructions in front of you. And let's start with wrapping the yarn around our hand. I like to wrap the yarn. I take the end in my right hand, go around my pinky twice, around the back of my hand, up over my index finger. I take my thumb and my middle finger, and I kind of hold that yarn right there. Okay, we're going to make a magic ring right now. What round one is, magic ring in 8 single crochets. So I have my tail of my yarn right here, and I am going to make a loop. And when I make that loop like that, I kind of want the tail, the intersection, to have a tail, about 2 inches long or so. Okay. And now you hold that intersection right there with your thumb and middle finger. Take your crochet hook and just grab that yarn, the working end, pull it through your magic ring. You'll have one hook on your yarn, or one loop on your hook. There we go. And we're going to do what's called a yarn over. Put your hook under your yarn over your hook. That's why it's called a yarn over, because the yarn goes over the hook. You turn your crochet hook, you grab that working yarn, and you pull it through the loop that was on your hook. And then what I like to do is I like to get this a little snug. So I take my index finger and thumb of my right hand and I hold the yarn to my hook. I take the middle finger and thumb of my left hand. I grab the tail and the left part of my magic ring, and I kind of just pull those two things apart. Yes, it does make the loop on my hook a bit bigger, but all I got to do is increase the tension by pulling that yarn back. And then remember, you always want the loop on your hook to be just about the size as the end of your hook. Okay, now I'm going to secure the yarn back on my hand again. So 2 times around my pinky, up over my index finger, middle finger, and thumb. Hold the left part of your magic ring. Okay, congratulations. This is your magic ring. Now I'm going to do 8 single crochets in my magic ring. So take your hook. I will put my index finger of my right hand on that yarn just to kind of hold it for a bit. I go through the center of my magic ring. I do a yarn over my hook. I pull that hook through the center of the magic ring. You'll now have 2 loops on your hook. Do another yarn over, grab that working end and pull it through both loops on the hook. You have made your first single crochet into your magic ring. Okay, what I want you to do now is grab your stitch marker, and I'm going to make this loop a little bit bigger just to secure it so I don't lose it. And I'm going to take my stitch marker and I'm going to go under that first single crochet, under both loops of the single crochet. Okay, you see that right there, that V? My stitch marker is under both. You can secure your stitch marker or not. A lot of times I don't, but I'm going to just because I said you might want to. Now I need to make the loop on my hook, the size of my hook. When you put your hook back in your loop, you really want to make sure that the front end of this loop is your working end of your yarn, okay? So when you pull the tension, you increase tension, it's going to make that loop smaller. It's going to pull the side towards you. If you pull that out of your stitch, it's going to make that loop bigger, and that's this side here, okay? And you put your hook through there so that the side towards you is that one, okay? Increase tension to make that loop the size of the end of my crochet hook, and wrap back around my hand in position, okay? My stitch marker marks stitch 1, the first single crochet of round 1. I need to do 7 more for a total of 8 single crochets into my magic ring. So take your hook through your magic ring, grab your working yarn, pull it through your magic ring. You'll have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both loops. You'll now have 2 single crochets. 6 more. Hook in through the center of your magic ring, yarn over, pull the working end through. You'll have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both loops on your hook. That's 3 single crochets. Stitch marker marks stitch 1, there's stitch 2, there's stitch 3. The loop on the hook does not count as a stitch. Okay, I have 3, I need to make 5 more. Here's 4 through the center of the magic ring, yarn over, pull it through, yarn over, pull it through both loops on the hook, there's 4. Through the magic ring, yarn over, pull it through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull it through both loops. I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3 more. Here's 6. Here's 7. And here is the 8th single crochet of round 1. Well, wait a minute, Parker. You said we were going to make a magic ring here. This does not look like a magic ring at all. And we are at the end of round 1. I should have 8 single crochets in a magic ring. I don't see that at all. I'm going to show you how to fix that. Take your hook and make that loop on your hook larger just by pulling that out. Pull your hook out, set it down. Okay? Now what I want you to do is hold your magic ring in your right hand between your middle finger and your thumb. Your left hand, you're going to pull, let's take that off my left hand. I don't need that attached still. With your left hand, you're going to pull the tail. And you're going to pull the tail out of your magic ring. And you're just going to pull, pull, pull. Okay? And when you pull, 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 you'll see, oh, I have made a ring now. Okay, and is it exactly a ring? Not quite, because we have not secured the end with the front with our next, okay? Hook through, test to make sure the right end is towards you. So if you pull the working end of the yarn, that's gonna get smaller and it's gonna pull the side towards you. What I like to do now is attach it to my left hand, and I go on to round 2. Round 2 says 8 increase stitches. Remember, an increase stitch is 2 single crochets into the same stitch. Okay? Stitch marker always marks the first stitch of the round. So what I like to do is I like to grab my stitch marker and I just like to pull a little bit. And I like to stretch that stitch out just so that it's stretched out a bit and I can see where my hook needs to go. Okay? My hook needs to go exactly where my stitch marker came out, and it needs to go under both loops of that first stitch. Okay? So you can see how both loops right there are under my hook. Okay? And then do your yarn over and pull through. You'll have 2 loops on your hook. You're going to finish that first single crochet of your first increase stitch of round 2. Okay? Now what you're going to do is you're going to mark stitch 1, because you always mark stitch 1 of each round. Grab your stitch marker, put that under both loops of the stitch, secure your stitch marker. Directions for round 2 say 8 increase stitches. An increased stitch, remember, is 2 single crochets into the same stitch. Stitch 1 was my first single crochet. My second single crochet is going to go in that same stitch. Pull through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both loops. Okay, now you're going to move to your next stitch. Okay, it's right there. You can see how, I can see where my hook goes. Take your hook, go under both loops, yarn over, grab your working end. You'll have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through. That was the first single crochet of the second increase. Now here's the second single crochet in that same stitch. Pull through, yarn over, pull through both. Okay? You now have 4 stitches of round 2, stitch markers in stitch 1, 2, 3, 4. Loop on the hook doesn't count. 4 stitches is 2 increase stitches. Okay? That was 2 increase stitches. Now I need to make my third increase stitch, which is 2 single crochets into the same location. We're going to be going in this stitch right here. Grab your hook through both loops of the stitch, yarn over, pull it through both, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through, in, yarn over, pull through both loops. That is increase stitch 3. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches of round 2. Next, increase. That's my first single crochet. Second single crochet completes that increase stitch. I now have 8 stitches. That's 4 increase stitches. In my next stitch goes 2 single crochets. There's the first. Here's the second. In that stitch, I now have 10 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Loop on the hook does not count. 10 stitches is 5 increase stitches. I have 3 increase stitches to go. Through the next stitch, single crochet, through the same stitch, completes my increase. That's 6 increase stitches. Single crochet in the next stitch, pull through, single crochet in the same stitch, completes increase stitch number 7. I have a total of 8 increase stitches to do, and I can see I'm right where I need to be because I have 1 stitch left before my stitch marker. 2 single crochets in that stitch completes 8 increase stitches of round 2. Okay? Round 3 directions get a little bit more complicated, but they're not hard. Round 3 is 7 single crochets and 1 increase, and I'm going to do that pattern 2 times for a total of 18 stitches. Okay? Take your stitch marker. Remember, I like to stretch it a little bit. I like to identify where my first single crochet is going to go of round 3. So I find out where it's at, I mark it, take my stitch marker out, get my hand ready to go. First single crochet goes in that same location where the stitch marker was. I hold my hook with my left hand and I mark that first single crochet of round 3. Remember, directions for round 3 are 7 single crochets, 1 increase. That pattern I do 2 times. There is single crochet stitch 1. Here is stitch 2. Single crochet. In the next stitch, single crochet. That's 3. In the next stitch, under both loops, single crochet. How many is that? I forgot. Let me count. Stitch marker always marks stitch 1. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 single crochets. I need a few more. Here is 5 in the next stitch, 6 in the next stitch, single crochet number 7 in the 7th stitch, and then it's 7 single crochets and 1 increase. Here are my 7. My first increase stitch goes in the next stitch. Remember, an increase stitch is 2 single crochets in the same stitch. Okay, I'm going to stop right there because that is the first time I completed this pattern. 7 single crochets and an increase. You notice that I'm starting to turn my piece this way. Okay, when you first start, it's a little inside and it kind of makes a bowl like this, and you want the correct side to be on the outside. So start to turn your piece like this, and it usually happens right around round 3 or 4. Okay, so first stitch is my stitch marker. That's stitch 1. So here is stitch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I should have 9 stitches. 7 single crochets and 1 increase is equal to 7 single crochets and 2 increases, which is 9 stitches, which is why I have 9 stitches from my stitch marker to where I am now. Okay, I repeat that pattern 2 times according to the directions for round 3. So in the next stitch is a single crochet. I need to make 7 of them in the 7 stitches. So there's 1 in the next stitch. There's 2 in the next stitch. This is 3 in the next stitch. This is 4. And 5. And 6. And 7. There's 7 single crochets. I now need to make my 1 increase stitch, and I can see that I have 1 stitch left in between the 7th stitch single crochet I just made and my stitch marker. I have 1 stitch left. That's where the increase stitch goes. Remember, an increase stitch is 2 single crochets in the same stitch. I just completed round 3. I should have, round 3 says I should have a total of 18 stitches in the round. I'm going to check that now. I'm going to take my hook out. I make that loop nice and big. Take the working yarn off my left hand. And I kind of put the stitch marker on the left hand side of my loop, just like when I'm crocheting. I like to use my yarn needle to help me count stitches. Remember, we're counting the V's. The first stitch is marked with the stitch marker. So this V right here is stitch 1. I need to count 8. Hopefully, I need to count 18 stitches. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. The loop does not count, but the 18th stitch is right where my loop comes out. So I have 18 stitches in round 3. I'm going to put my hook back through the loop. I'm going to cinch that loop up a little bit and make sure the side that tightens up is the side pointed towards me. I'm going to make the loop on my hook just about the size of the end of my hook. And around my pinky twice, around the back of my hand, over my index finger, hold the piece in between the middle finger and thumb of my left hand. Because I need to take my stitch marker out, remember, I like to stretch that stitch just a little bit so my eyes can see where that hole is, where my hook goes, and I kind of mark it with my thumb to help me identify it. Because if I'm not paying attention, I lose that location. Stitch marker goes out. Round 4 says 18 single crochets. Excellent. First single crochet goes right where you took that hook out. First single crochet done of round 4. Hook goes in my left hand. Stitch marker identifies that first stitch of round 4. It goes under both loops of that stitch. Okay? That was stitch 1. In the next stitch is 2. In the next stitch is 3. And with crocheting, it is a lot of counting. That was 3. Here's 4. I need to get to 18. Here's 5. A lot of times I lose count right about there. So I'll show you what I do is I've already lost count. I have no clue what number I'm at. I think I'm at 25,000 or something like that. Not yet. My hands don't feel like that just yet. But I just keep crocheting along, and then all of a sudden I go, oh, I see my stitch marker coming up on me. I need to make sure that I have 18 stitches in round 4. So let me stop where I'm at, count the number of stitches I've created, see how many stitches I have left. So I'm going to stop where I'm at, take my hook out, off my left hand, come over to my stitch marker, and you can see now that it's a bowl the correct way, it's a little bit easier now that we are in round 4 to kind of count those stitches, because now the stitches sit up on top of our project. Okay, so stitch marker marks stitch 1. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have 11 stitches completed. Get my hook back in place. That's 11. Here's 12. Next stitch is 13. Next stitch is 14. And then we have 15, 16. I'm going to stop right here. I'm at 16. I need to do 2 more. I want to make sure I have 2 more stitches to go, and I can see that I have 2 stitches to go before my stitch marker. These 2 empty stitches get those last 2 single crochets of round 4. There is 17, and here is stitch 18. That wraps up round 4. Okay, we are ready for round 5. Round 5, the directions are, a whole lot. 3 single crochets, a fin, 10 single crochets, a fin, 5 single crochets for a total of 18 stitches. Okay, let's do this one step at a time so that I'm clear on what all I'm doing, because all that sounds like a mess, but I know I can read some directions and do some crocheting. So a little bit of perseverance, a little bit of confidence. I got that. Let's go. Let's mark that first stitch, identify it, stretch it out so you see where your hook's going to go in that first stitch. Okay, take that stitch marker out, set it to the side. First single crochet goes in that stitch that you marked. There's my first single crochet. Hold my hook off to the left, kind of opens up that spot so I can see where my stitch marker goes. It goes under both loops of that stitch. I secure it. There's my first single crochet of round 5. I need to do 3 single crochets. There's 1. In the next stitch is 2 single crochets. In the next stitch is my last of those 3 single crochets. Now what I'm going to do, it says fin. Right below it says a fin is a whole lot as well. Well, that's a little more intimidating than what it really is, so let's just do it again, one step at a time. To make a fin, that's what we're doing now, right here. It says chain 3, so I'm going to chain 3. I don't go through anything. I just take my hook, I do a yarn over, and I pull through the loop on my hook. And there's my first chain. I need to do 3, so here's my second chain and my third chain. There's 3 chains, 1, 2, 3 V's. Now it is a 1 slip stitch in the second chain from the hook. So here's the hook. First stitch is right here. I'm not going to do it in the first stitch because if I go in the first stitch, I'm going to undo that chain. So I don't want to do that. I'm going to go in the second chain from the hook and I'm going to do a slip stitch. How I do a slip stitch is through the V, 1 loop on your hook, yarn over, pull it through. You'll have 2 loops on your hook. Don't do anything but pull through the last hoop on your hook. That's your slip stitch. Okay. Now I need to do 1 single crochet. That single crochet goes in the next stitch, working towards your piece. That is your first chain of the chain 3 and making the fin. So I do a single crochet in that V. It goes right there in that V. 1 loop on your hook, yarn over, pull through. You'll have 2 loops on your hook. Grab your fin with your middle finger and thumb, yarn over, pull the working end through both loops on your hook. That completes that single crochet. The last stitch to make the fin is 1 slip stitch in the same stitch of the head that we started our chain 3. So come back to where we started the chain 3. That's right here. I can see where my fin is coming out of this chain right here. I do a slip stitch in that chain, grab my working yarn, grab my piece, pull it through the 1 loop on my hook. That completes my fin. Okay. Next, it says 10 single crochets. In the next stitch is a single crochet. Here's my slip stitch. Here's my next stitch, a single crochet. Here's 1 single crochet in the next stitch. I need to do 10 of those. There's 1 in the next stitch. Here's 2 single crochets. In the next stitch, here's 3 single crochets. In the next stitch, here's 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, 8, 9, and 10. Round 5 says 3 single crochets, a fin, 10 single crochets. I just made my 10 single crochets. Let's make sure I have those 10. We'll start from the beginning of round 5. Stitch marker marks stitch 1. Here's 1, 2, 3. Okay. Then I make my fin. There's my fin. After my fin, it's 10 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Loop is coming out of stitch 10. The loop on my hook. After 10 single crochets, it's the fin. Remember, a fin is right from where we are, chain 3. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3. Now I do a slip stitch in the second stitch from the hook. There's 1, here's 2. I do a slip stitch in that second stitch. Yarn over, pull through the loop on the hook. Next, I do a single crochet in the next stitch, through, yarn over, pull through, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through. That's the single crochet. I now do a slip stitch in the same stitch I started my chain 3 out of, slip stitch, pull through the loop on my hook. Now my directions say that I end with 5 single crochets. I'm going to count right now to make sure I have 5 stitches left so that my fin ended in the right spot. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stitch marker marks the first stitch of round 5. That 5 single crochets ends right before my stitch marker. So let's make those 5 single crochets to finish up round 5. There's 1 single crochet. There's 2. Here's 3. Here's 4. And here is 5. Now take your working yarn off your left hand. Pull your hook out just a little bit, stretch that yarn, and what I want you to do is cut your yarn about 6 inches from where you're at. Right here looks like it's about 6. I also have this here. I'm just going to snip. I'm good to go. My darker yarn I kind of take out of the way for right now and pull that yarn through so that you only have one tail. Okay? Now what you're going to do is you're going to grab your yarn needle and you're going to thread the tail of your yarn through the eye of your yarn needle. Okay? Now what you're going to do is you're going to see where the stitch is, where your stitch marker is. We are not going to do anything in that stitch there. We're going to put our needle through the stitch right after stitch 1. So here is stitch 1. The stitch right after stitch 1 is right here. So from the front of your piece, put your needle under both loops of that stitch and pull it through the other side. Okay? Now get your stitch marker and take it off. Set it down. Okay? Next thing you're going to do is kind of pull it through, and where that yarn is coming out of this hoop, this loop right over here, I want you to go through the top front of that loop. Okay? And then come out on the inside of your piece. Okay? And what you're going to do is this is an invisible fasten off. Okay? Because what I'm going to do is I can take my yarn needle off right now and take the tail of my yarn, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a stitch that covers stitch 1 of that last round. Okay? And you kind of want this stitch to be the same size as your other stitches. Okay? And then take that to the inside. And you know what? I forgot what I was doing. I'm going to put my yarn needle back on. Thread it through the eye. Okay? Because I need to hide this tail. Okay, what you're going to do is on the inside of your piece, you can turn it inside out if you want. Okay, and here's where that tail comes out, and you're just going to weave it in and out of some of these stitches. Okay, and I'm just going to go through that one, and I'm going to keep going down. And I might come up another one just so I get a little bit of a zigzag. And pull that through, kind of tighten that up. Okay, now you can take your yarn needle off your yarn, turn it back inside out the right way so that your two tails are on the inside of your piece, and tuck those away on the inside. Okay, and now what you can see is that your piece is kind of leveled out. Here where is that invisible fasten off. You can't really tell where I fastened off, but you do want to know where it's at because that is stitch 1. Your stitch marker goes there. Okay? If you're having a hard time finding it, you'll notice that on the right-hand side of it, it's a little bit higher than the left-hand side. When you're crocheting in a round, it kind of just spirals up. So where a round ends is always going to be a little bit higher than where that round started. So this invisible fasten off, the way I showed you here, kind of smooths that line out so there's not a big difference. Okay, now we're going to transition over to our lighter color yarn. Okay, let's change over to our lighter color yarn to complete our baby shark, starting with round 6. So what I'm going to have you do is make yourself a little loop with your white yarn and give yourself a tail, about that long. Okay, and make yourself a little loop like that. You're going to grab your baby shark. You're going to see where stitch 1 is. Okay, and you're going to keep an eye on that as you take your stitch marker out. Okay, and what I want you to do is take your hook, go through both loops of that stitch, grab the loop of your white yarn and pull it through both of those stitches. Okay, now take the tail of your white yarn and kind of just stick it into your piece. Okay, take the working end of your white yarn, wrap it around your hand, hold it for your work, secure your piece in between your thumb and middle finger, and you'll have a loop on your hook. Okay, and what we're going to do, directions for round 6, say back loop only 18 single crochets. Okay, so a back loop only single crochet. Your hook is going to go through the back loop only. Okay, remember with all of your stitches, you have a back loop and a front loop. Your hook is going to go through the center of that stitch. It's going to go under the back loop only. So you're going to have one blue loop on your hook. Okay, yarn over, pull through that blue loop. You'll have 2 loops on your hook to complete your single crochet. Okay, complete your single crochet, back loop only. Okay, in the next stitch, you're going to do another back loop only single crochet. Take your hook, go down through the center of that stitch, under the back loop only, yarn over, pull through that back loop, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through to complete that second single crochet. You're going to do another back loop only single crochet into that stitch right before your fin. Remember, it's a back loop only single crochet, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. Now it's going to get a little tricky because, what do I do with my fin? Don't worry about your fin. Kind of pull your fin out towards you, okay? And what we're going to do is we're just going to skip it because we did 3 back loop only single crochets. I'm going to do 10 more back loop only single crochets in between my 2 fins right here. Okay, so back loop only, there's 1, and you'll notice that it kind of just connected right behind that fin, and we're good. Okay, there's 1, here's 2 back loop only single crochets, here's 3, next is 4, and then we have 5, and then we have 6, back loop only, remember, single crochet, there's 7, here's 8, here's 9, and in the last stitch right before my fin, I do the 10th back loop only single crochet in between my 2 fins. Okay, I did 3 and 10 is 13. I have 5 left, and you'll notice that pattern of 3, 10, 5 matches the single crochets of round 5. So round 6 is back loop only, 18 single crochets match where those single crochets are from round 5. So, which is why we skip the fin. So skip the fin. Next is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, making sure that I have 5 left. Back loop only, single crochet. There's 1. Here's 2. There's 3, 4, and in the last stitch is 5. How do I know that's the last stitch? Because I don't have a stitch marker in the first stitch of round 6, but that's okay because I changed the color, okay? And really, that's the only time I do not use a stitch marker is when I have changed colors, okay? Because now when I start round 7 is 1 single crochet and 1 decrease, and I make that pattern 6 times. So that first single crochet of round 7 goes in the first stitch of round 6. Okay, so I do 1 single crochet, hold my hook, grab my stitch marker, and I do want to make sure I identify that first stitch of round 7. 1 single crochet, and now I do a decrease. A decrease stitch. Remember, a decrease is you are doing a single crochet in 2 stitches. Okay, so we're going to take the next 2 stitches and we're going to decrease that to make it just 1 stitch. And how we do that, take your hook and go front loop only. So go under the front loop, come up between the front loop and the back loop, go to that next stitch under the front loop so that you have 2 stitches on your hook, yarn over, pull it through those 2 stitches. You should have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through. That was our first decrease. I'm going to increase my tension just by holding over here and kind of wiggling it and making it tighter. I now need to tighten the working yarn around my hand. Okay, I did 1 single crochet and 1 decrease. That pattern I repeat 6 times. There was the first time. in the next stitch. How do I know where the next stitch? You can kind of move your yarn like this, and the next stitch shouldn't budge, okay? And I know this stitch right here is where my next stitch goes, so that's a single crochet. And then I do a decrease stitch. In the next 2 stitches, I put in a single crochet. Front loop only, I go under the front loop in between the 2 loops of the next stitch. Same thing, under the front loop, in between the front loop and the back loop of that next stitch. I have 2 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through both of those loops. You should now have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through. That was my next decrease. You should have 4 stitches. Single crochet, decrease, single crochet, decrease. Those are my 4 stitches. I repeat that a total of 6 times. I've done it twice already. In the next stitch that doesn't have anything in it is a single crochet. I then do a decrease in the next 2 stitches. Through the front loop, through the front loop. Here, I really have 3 loops on my hook. I have this one back here, and then the 2 that I went through, okay? I know that a lot of times I say I have 2 loops on my hook because I'm not going to do anything with this one just yet. So I want to make sure, because I'm going to do something with these 2 loops next, I just want to make sure I have those 2. So it's the yarn over and I pull through those 2. And then I still have 2 loops on my hook. Yarn over, pull through. Okay, that was a decrease. Here is my next single crochet, and then a decrease in the next 2. Front loop, complete that single crochet. That's a decrease. In the next stitch is a single crochet, and then it's a decrease. Decrease is front loop only, yarn over, pull through both front loops, 2 loops on your yarn over, pull through. I just completed 5 rounds of single crochet and decrease. I now have single crochet and a decrease. I have 2 stitches left before my stitch marker. That's great because I need those 2 stitches to complete my last decrease stitch of round 7. Round 7 done. Now I'm going to add eyes and stuff it with fluff. So take your crochet hook out, okay? Keep your stitch marker there. Take your working yarn off your left hand, and then let's kind of shape our little baby shark, okay? You'll notice when looking at the underside of your shark that between your fins there is a longer side and a shorter side. Remember we did 3 singles, 10 singles, 5 singles. The 5 plus 3 is 8. We have 10 on this side, which is why this side looks a little bit longer than in between these 2 fins over here. This is the front of your shark, the longer side. Okay? Excuse me. So what I'm going to have you do is grab your 2 safety eyes. Okay? We're going to put our eyes in first. Where I like to put my eyes on my baby shark. Okay? I like them more on the side, but not really too close to the fin. So there's my fin. I'm just gonna, you'll notice in between your stitches, there are some spaces. I am gonna go just above the mouth line. about that far in front of my fin. I'm going to grab my other eye, kind of match it on the other side, right here in front of my fin, not right above it in the front. I'm going to go in just a little bit. And now I'm going to check. Okay, here's my shark. My eyes are centered in the front. I kind of like the placement. If you want to change them, take it out and change it. Okay. If you want them more in the front of your shark, like that. Are they centered now? Yeah, they're centered now. And you want them more in the front like that? That's fine. Okay. That's going to be it from the side. That's shark from the front. That's cute, but I kind of like where I had them in the beginning. Okay. Kind of like that. More on the side of the shark and less in the front, but that's just my preference. You do you, boo. I'm going to do me. I'm going to keep my eyes there. Okay, now I'm going to come to the inside. And I'm going to get the back to my safety eye. And I'm going to put the back on it just to kind of secure that eye in place. Okay? And then I'm going to get the other back to my eye. And I'm going to put it on the back of the other eye. Okay. And, oh, that one popped off. Let me get that one back on there, like that. Perfect. Okay, now you should have some fluff. Get some fluff. Okay. Take your fluff, and it's all in one gloopy glump. Okay. What I want you to do is kind of pull it apart. Okay. Pull apart, pull apart, pull apart. Make it kind of fluffy. Don't make it a big globbly gloop. Okay. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take a small piece of that fluff and you're going to get your stitch marker out from inside your baby shark. Before we stuff with fluff, let me do one other thing. Your white tail, you can tie your white tail to your blue tail if you wish. Okay? Take those two and just kind of knot them together if you wish, just so those ends are a little more secure. Okay? And stuff all those tails on the inside of your shark. Make sure you still have your loop for your crochet hook and the working part of your yarn. Okay? Take that fluff that we made and just stuff it on the inside. Okay? Grab a little bit more. Stuff with fluff. Okay? After you put in a couple pieces, you can kind of check to make sure, do I like how stuffed it is? Do I like the density? Maybe I need to add a little bit more. So you add a little bit more, and then you can feel, I can feel the change now, the difference. I kind of like that, but I even want to maybe stuff a tiny bit more because I'm going to be closing up this hole right here. I'm not going to be making my shark any bigger. I'm really just going to be closing up this hole. So I don't want any fluff to really be coming out of that hole because I'm just going to close it up. Okay. So now kind of test your piece and go, okay. Yeah, this is a good squishy stuffy for me. I kind of like that. And all that other stuff that we pulled apart, look at all that I have. I still have more. Throw all your extra fluff off to the side. Save that for another project. Let's continue on with round 8 because we're almost done. Round 8 is the last round. Let's identify how my hook goes in my piece. I'm going to close that loop up. I see that the one getting pulled in is this one here closer to me. My hook's going to go through so that the one closest to me is that same one that closed up. And I'm going to kind of cinch that down. Okay. I now take the working end of my yarn, secure it in my left hand, and I get ready for round 8. Round 8 is the same thing as round 7, except instead of 6 repetitions of the pattern, it is only 4 repetitions of the single crochet and the decreased stitch. Grab your stitch marker, see where stitch 1 of the round is. I see it right there, keeping my eye on it, mark it with my thumb so that I know where my hook goes. I do a single crochet in that stitch, complete my single crochet, secure my hook in my left hand, identify where my stitch marker goes. It goes in that stitch I just created, and that was the first single crochet of round 8. I now need a decreased stitch. Decreased stitch is a single crochet in 2 consecutive stitches. So I have my original loop on my hook. I have 2 additional from the front loops of the next 2 stitches. Yarn over, pull through both of those stitches. I now have 2 loops on my hook. Complete that decreased stitch by pulling through both loops. Okay, that is a single crochet and a decrease. I need to do that pattern 3 more times. Single crochet. A decrease is a single crochet through the front loops of 2 consecutive stitches. Complete that decreased stitch. Next is a single crochet. Next is a decreased stitch, which is a single crochet through the front loops of 2 consecutive stitches. Yarn over, pull through those front loops, yarn over, pull through both loops. That completes my 3rd time completing the 1 single crochet, 1 decreased stitch. I now have my last single crochet and my last decreased stitch of round 8 is through the front loops of the last 2 stitches. Complete that decreased stitch. That completes round 8. I should have 8 stitches. Let me pull my yarn out, let go of my hook. Let's count these 8 stitches. Stitch marker marks and identifies stitch 1. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My loop comes out of stitch 8. I've completed round 8. Now you're going to grab your scissors and I want you to cut your working yarn. Oh, we need about 8 inches, okay? So right about there. That might be probably 6 inches or so. I have a couple more inches here. Just like when we switched color, I'm now going to pull this out through and I'm going to have a tail. Okay? Next, you can grab your yarn needle. Through the eye of the needle goes your tail. Grab your stitch marker, identify stitch 1 of round 8, kind of see where we're going to be working. Identify that with your thumb, put your thumb in that stitch, take the stitch marker out. Now with your yarn needle. Remember with decreased stitches, we went through front loops only. With this invisible fasten off to cinch up the hole, what we're going to do is through the front loop only again. Okay, so through those 8 stitches of round 8, we are going to do front loop only. Okay, kind of go through the front loop only and kind of pull that not too tight. You can keep it a little loose. Okay, in the second front loop only, yarn needle goes through. Third stitch, front loop only, pull your yarn through. 4, 5, oh, this stitch is a little tight. Here's 6, pull that through. Here is 7, and in the last one here, this is 8. Let me get my yarn needle through the front loop only of stitch 8 and pull that tail through and take your yarn needle off. And you'll notice that you have a hole and you might have some loose bits there. Okay, what I want you to do now is take the tail, okay, and just kind of pull on it and watch your hole cinch up just like your magic ring did. Okay, and you'll see now I take my thumb and I push on the belly button of my shark, and you'll see that little hole right here, and now we have this tail. Okay, and what do I do with my tail now? Okay, well, the blue tails are on the inside. The white tail from the beginning, and I changed the color, went in the inside. How we get this tail on the inside is tail through the eye of the needle. Okay, and what I want you to do is we kind of want to hide this. So I'm going to go through the next couple stitches. Okay, and I'm just going to start weaving this in, making it tighter. Okay, now I'm going to go through the belly button. Okay, into the belly button, and then come out somewhere in the white. Okay, and pull that through nice and tight. Okay, not super tight so you make a belly an innie. Okay, but a little bit secure. Okay, and then now you're just going to weave in and out through the bottom, just kind of securing this tail. Okay, weave in, come out, just kind of secure that tail. Now that tail's nice and secure. So what I'm going to now is I'm going to go in and I'm going to come out the top. Okay, and now you have tail coming out the top of your baby shark. Take your yarn needle and just kind of push that tail onto the inside of your baby shark. And now look, we have our baby shark. We still need to crochet our dorsal fin. We still need to crochet our tail back here. We still need to add our mouth. We need to add our gills, and we need to add some drama, some blood. Okay, we are ready to make our dorsal fin. So we're going to grab our darker colored yarn and get ready. So I'm going to make a slip knot in my yarn. Okay, and I want that hole to be a little bit bigger than my hook. And what I'm going to do is make sure I have the side of my shark, and I'm going to have the eyes pointing to the left and having the fin pointed right at me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hook through these 2 stitches in the back of the magic ring. Okay. And then I'm going to put my slip knot on my hook, and I'm going to pull that through, and I'm going to slip knot that to my shark. Okay. Now, that's how I attach it behind the magic ring. Now what I'm going to do is chain 3. So around the pinky twice, back of the hand over the index finger, and I'm going to kind of hold my baby shark like this. Okay, and I'm now going to chain 3. Chain 1, chain 2, chain 3. Next is a slip stitch in the second stitch from the hook. There's the first. Here is the, let's see. There's the first. Here's the second right here. Hook goes in that back loop of the chain. Pull it through, and it's a slip stitch, so I pull it through the loop on my hook. Next, I do a double crochet in the same stitch as the chain 3 that attached it behind my magic ring. Okay, double crochet is yarn over. I'm going to go in that same stitch where I attached. Okay, pull my working yarn through. You see I now have 3 loops on my hook. Yarn over, pull through the first 2, bring it up. You'll have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through both. That is your double crochet. Okay, my directions now say I do a half double crochet and a single stitch in the next stitch, which is in front of that magic ring. Okay, so I do a half double crochet. Starts off just like the double crochet. It's a yarn over. I now go in front of the magic ring through, yarn over, through those 2 loops. Oh, there we go. Got one of them. Now let me get in there and get that second one. Gotta pull out, gotta find the second one. Okay, I tightened it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my yarn needle and I'm gonna go through just kind of like how I use the stitch marker to stretch that stitch so I know where my hook goes. I'm gonna do the same thing, okay? I want my hook to go under both this one stitch, both of those loops, okay? So I'm just gonna pull that up just a bit so I know where my hook goes through, okay? Now here's my yarn over. Now I go through both of those loops. There's one. There's 2. Okay. You now have yarn over. I lost my loop on my hook. Half double crochet is that yarn over. I forgot. Through those two, since it's stretched out, it's already in, or it's easy to go in that same stitch. Yarn over, pull it through. You have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, and instead of pulling through just the first 2 like in the double crochet, we're going to pull through all 3 of those loops on our hook so that we only have 1 loop on our hook, and that is a half double crochet. I now do a single crochet in that same stitch where the half double crochet went. So I'm going to go in, same, yarn over, pull through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through. My directions to finish the dorsal fin is to now cut the yarn and secure both ends. So I'm going to take my hook, pull it out, remove the working yarn from my left hand, grab my scissors, and I'm going to cut it about 4-6 inches, pull that yarn through. Okay, and here is my dorsal fin. Some of my white yarn's coming out. Just going to tuck that back in, and it doesn't really look like a dorsal fin. Well, first thing is I got to tuck my tails in. So let me grab my crochet hook, my embroidery needle, yarn needle, thread it through the eye. Okay, and I'm in the front of that dorsal fin now. And you see how it's kind of up and weird right here? And when I tighten it down and pull it into the body of my baby shark, it makes it look, there is that dorsal fin. So I'm going to tighten this tail to the front of my baby shark. Okay, so I'm just going to come right in through here, come under, pull that through, tighten it down, and I'm going to look to see what I have. And yes, that's what I want to see for my dorsal fin. Okay, so now I'm going to do is just kind of secure my yarn in my baby shark. So I'm just going to go in, pull it through, go in, pull it through. And I'm going to do one last time. And I'm going to go backwards now, pull it through, kind of tight, shape my baby shark, fluff my fin, and go, okay, like it. I still have this tail hanging out. I'm going to get the back end of my embroidery needle, my yarn needle, and I'm just going to shove that tail inside the body. Okay. Now I need to hide this tail over here through the eye of the needle. And this one, same thing. You just kind of go in and out your stitches to kind of just hide that tail in your piece. Oops, came out, that's okay. I'm going to put my yarn needle through first, leave the eye out so that I can put the end of my yarn through the eye of that needle and pull it through. A little bit of the tail came out. I'm just going to tuck it right inside. There is my dorsal fin. Next. Okay, we are ready to crochet the tail to our baby shark. Okay, here's my baby shark. My tail is going to come back here. Here's the face of my baby shark. Dorsal fin, I just finished crocheting. There's my fins on the side. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of put my eyes pointed down. Okay, and I'm going to have the belly over here next to my crochet hook. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my crochet hook right through one stitch, 2 loops, there's the V, just below that color change. Okay, and now I have a slip knot in the end of my yarn, and I'm going to put that on my hook, and I'm just going to pull that through. Okay, and now I'm going to do a slip knot, kind of attach that to the tail end of my shark. Okay? Working yarn on my left hand, around the pinky twice, back of the hand over the index finger, and kind of have the eyes pointed down, the fin pointed right at you, dorsal fin to the left. Okay? Eyes pointed down. And the directions say, after attaching to the back end of your shark, we are going to chain 3. Okay? So here's chain 1, chain 2, chain 3. Next, I do a slip stitch in the second chain from the hook. There's the first. Here's the second. I do a slip stitch in that. Remember, through just one. So you're going to have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through that chain. You're going to have 2 loops on your hook. Don't do a single crochet. Just take that loop and pull it through the loop on your hook. Okay, we now have 1. Okay, next, I do a half double crochet in that same stitch. Half double crochet, yarn over, through the same stitch. I did the slip stitch, yarn over, pull through. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. 1, 2, 3. Yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on your hook. That second one for me is kind of snug, and I just kind of help that go through and pull it through, and yes, I got it. Okay, that's that half double crochet. I now do a single crochet in the next stitch up the back of my shark. Okay, so remember, fin pointed towards you, eyes pointed down, dorsal fin pointed to the left. I now do a single crochet in the next stitch up the shark. Okay, so I come up, and right here through those 2, single crochet, 2 loops on your hook, pull through both, kind of tighten that down, and there is that single crochet up. Now I do a chain 2, chain 1, chain 2. I do a slip stitch in the second chain, slip stitch right here. And then now I do a half double crochet and a single crochet in the same place I did that single crochet. Okay, so half double crochet, yarn over, through that same stitch, yarn over, pull through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. I now do a single crochet in that same stitch, yarn over, pull through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through. And I now get to pull my hook through, set my hook down, take my yarn off my hand, cut me a tail. Here is my tail of my baby shark. I now have to secure and hide both ends of my tail. I'm going to take the shorter one first. I'm going to hide that one first. Okay? And because it's kind of short, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with having my embroidery needle, my yarn needle, through my shark already. I'm going to grab that tail through the eye of the needle, bring it through, and I'm just going to pull it all the way through. Bring that yarn out because I'm still going to have a short tail. Okay? And next to that stitch, I'm going to put my yarn needle in there through the eye, through baby shark, and that tail is now inside baby shark. I don't have to do any tucking, and that bottom tail is there. I'm now going to secure this tail right here. Because it's longer, I get to thread it through the eye of the needle first. And I want to, just like with the dorsal fin, we use that longer tail that we need to like kind of secure it kind of tighter to the body. You can see when I bring it tighter to the body, that tail kind of stands out. Okay, so I'm going to go in my baby shark right close to my tail, and then I'm going to bring it out also kind of close, but under a stitch or two. Okay, I'm now going to pull it nice and tight, shape my tail, and I'm going to go, yeah, that tail looks pretty cool. So now I just have to thread in and out to kind of hide this tail. Once I feel it's secure enough, I can just take that end, tuck it in baby shark. Good to go. Now I'm going to shape baby shark. Because I just completed my dorsal fin, my tail, and I am so close to being done with baby shark. Next, what I want you to do is grab your black yarn. Okay, your hook can go off to the side, and we're just going to use our yarn needle, our embroidery needle. Thread one in through. Okay. And where I want you to start is in the back of baby shark. And I want you to come out just above the fin. Okay? Pull it through. Leave yourself a tail of that black yarn about 4 to 6 inches. Okay? We're now going to make the gills. So I'm going to go above a stitch. I'm going to go above 2 stitches and right in there. And I'm going to come out the stitch right next to that one. Okay, just like that. And now I have one gill going up. My next gill is going to come down, and I'm going to come out right at the color change. Because what I'm going to do now is the mouth. With baby shark, I'm going to do just 2 gills on baby shark. Because I think if I were to do 3, it would be too much. My body is too short for 3. So my baby shark has 2 gills. Now I need to complete the mouth, because this is going to be the mouth. And it's going to, since we came out here close to the fin 1 stitch, I'm going to go in close to the fin 1 stitch. And I'm going to bring it out right above. Okay? Just like that. Pull it a little tighter. Now I have yarn for my mouth. So I just embroidered 2 gills on one side. Here's the mouth. We're going to secure that in a bit with our red. Okay? To complete the mouth, I went in the shark here and I came out because now I need to make gills on this side. So I'm going to go in 1 stitch above, come out 1 stitch to the left, and then go in 2 stitches down, and I'm going to come out where my black thread entered the body of my shark. Okay? Just pull that tight. I'm going to take my yarn out of my embroidery needle now. Okay? And I'm going to look to make sure I have 2 gills on both sides and my mouth looks pretty cool. So there's the first two gills I put on Baby Shark. There's the mouth. Here's the other two gills. I like them. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two tails and I'm just going to put a simple knot in the two ends of this yarn. Okay. Here's one little tie. Here's a second little tie. Okay. I got a knot in there. I have these two tails and I am going to cut both of those off, kind of short. Grab my embroidery needle, and I'm going to push that knot in that stitch that both of these ends came out of, and I'm just going to tuck that inside. And now I have two gills, a mouth, two gills on the other side. Next, what I would love for you to get is your piece of red yarn. And we're going to give Baby Shark a little bit of drama. Baby Shark just took a bite and has a little blood on her lips. What we're going to do is we are going to enter back here above our fin. We're going to come through under our mouth. Okay? Under our mouth. Make sure to leave a little bit of tail leaving out on just above your fin. Okay? Under your mouth. We're now going to go above the mouth in, and we're going to come out wherever you want to come out. If you want just a little bit of drama, a little bit of blood, come out that same hole. Maybe let's do it twice. Whatever you wish. Do we like that? Oh, I do. I'm now going to go in that one. I'm going to come out the same stitch that my yarn needle went in to begin, so that I have those two tails coming out the same hole. Take my yarn needle off, just like I did with the black yarn. I'm going to tie a simple knot with both of these tails. There's one. There's two knots. I can cut that a little bit shorter. Okay. Not too much. Didn't really need to. Take the end of my embroidery needle, stuff that knot on the inside of my Baby Shark, and a la peanut butter sandwich, I have finished crocheting Baby Shark with a little bit of drama, a little bit of blood from the last kill. Congratulations. Great job.